All right, let's introduce this panel that we have for this great discussion today. And first off, we're going to start off with 10-year NFL veteran defensive lineman Cam Jordan with the Saints. He also at one point was nominated for the team's Walter Payton Man of the Year award. We're also joined by Jon Runyan, who's the NFL's VP of Policy and Rules Administration, longtime 14-year NFL vet, and a two-term U.S. Congressman from Southern New Jersey, the 3rd District, I believe. And we're also joined by Natalie Tran, the co-founder of I Am Voter. She is a board member of the ACLU in Southern California and the executive director of the Creative Artist Agency Foundation. Guys, thanks so much for joining us for this important conversation. And Jon, I want to start with you and coming from the league office and explaining exactly what is NFL votes and why is getting out to vote such a priority for the NFL?
Well, I mean, really what a lot of this comes down to, and I saw it in my political career, getting out to vote and getting people registered to vote and being part of the legislative process and being involved in your community. And really, when we're in this era of change, the best way to get your legislators to listen to you is vote for them or get them out of there. And I think, the commissioner has done a really good job of really stepping up and listening to what the players want. And making the NFL votes part of the process. When you go back and you look at 2016, there were 100 million people in this country that did not vote in 2016. So I think it's really exciting. It's unfortunate. It took this long to really get to where we're at in the NFL. But with the players excited, get the owners on board, get the NFL on board, and get the rest of the country behind us, this is a thing. Steve, I was running some numbers from back when I ran for office, and when you look at a congressional district, so typically a congressional district has about 720,000 people in there. I won an election with 15% of that vote. That's because the voter turnout is so low, and you got to be registered, number one, but you got to show up to the ballot or get your mail-in ballot or your absentee ballot in, and that's what this initiative's all about.
Cam, I mean, first off, when you hear those numbers, 100 million people don't vote. Jon wins a congressional election with 15% of the registered voters in his district. That's staggering. I mean, what's the conversation been like in your locker rooms? Because Jon said the time is now. This is kind of a moment in change. When you guys are together, do you even talk about getting people out to vote and the importance of voting?
Absolutely, especially when you talk about this offseason. I mean, you talk about almost 4 years ago when President-elect 45 was coming up on term. This is something that, became a large focus then, but now we're really emphasizing and focusing on education, not only for the players, but for the fans, for the coaches. Voter education is so important. And I think, with this upcoming election, this is something that, normally people think about presidential election. Normally, they think about once every 4 years, but it's beyond that. It's tuning into the legislative process of your senators, of your representatives, of, your governors, your mayors, and everything that you can exercise your rights. I mean, there have been so many different ways where people before us have fought for our rights to vote. So it's now time to exercise our given rights.
Well said. And Natalie, the NFL is partnering with your group, I Am Voter, as well as Rise to Vote and Rock the Vote. Could you tell us what I Am Voter is and what is the benefit for everyone who is partnering, including the NFL, in pushing this initiative?
Sure. So I Am a Voter is a nonpartisan movement that aims to create a cultural shift around voting and civic engagement. We really want to make voter identity mainstream, aspirational, and a really personal part of how anyone identifies themselves. Creative Artist Agency helped launch this initiative in 2018, and all we want to do is really inspire and excite this generation. We push out really positive, informative, fact-based messaging, and we really believe that our democracy works best when we all participate. So we've already conducted a few voter education sessions with several NFL teams. They've gone so well. I've personally been so impressed by the energy and commitment coming from the players. We know that these sessions aren't one-off. Like Cam said, we really want to continue to help players over the next few months encourage their fans and activate their communities around registering to vote and then turning out to vote.
Natalie, I got a question for you, and then both John and Cam, I want you to follow. But we've seen this summer, it has been a moment, a movement, whatever you want to call it, where young people have really driven the energy. And Natalie, with the voter education, encouraging people to vote and doing it through NFL players, many of whom are, in their early to mid 20s, and they address an audience that's right in that wheelhouse. How important is it with this young people's energy to really get these athletes to connect with maybe a target audience that you're pushing towards?
Sure. It's a great question. Young voters, voters of color, and women are going to make up the majority of the electorate this year. So when you have your favorite athletes and you have people that you really look up to, your favorite NFL players, encouraging them to vote, sharing their personal stories with them, telling them that it's okay to care about your community. It's okay to want to be an engaged citizen. There's no better platform than the NFL and these players talking to them about this movement on their social media accounts, pushing it out on their different platforms. So we think that this is just an unbelievable opportunity for folks like Cam to step in and really be leaders in this moment.
Yeah. I would say, just building upon that, it's so important to not only just encourage people to vote, but encourage people to then further their knowledge of what they're exactly voting for. I'm not trying to direct, how they vote. I'm just trying to direct if they vote, encourage them to vote. I want people to be able to use their platform, whether that be my players, my friends, my teammates, using their platform to reach their fan base, to have them understand that, it's sort of our duty to vote. And when you talk about just, again, education, from not only my contemporaries, my teammates, but to the fan base, to whoever we can reach. If we can get so many more people to vote, we will know what really is sort of the heart of our nation. As John has alluded to, 100 million people didn't vote last time there was a presidential election. Just think if we can get everybody to participate. I think that's going to be our best vote, our best way to go about voting, to not only just be registered to vote, but also know your steps, whether that be absentee ballot for a lot of athletes, or just being, again, knowing the integral parts of being knowledgeable of what to vote for.
Yeah, and to Cam's point too, and I did this a lot to people on the campaign trail that were deciding whether they wanted to vote for me or not, and just talk about the education of it. I always told people, I goes, find 5 issues that you really, really care about, and find someone that aligns with what you care about and vote for them. I don't care what their party affiliation is, because when you find that person, you're going to make this country a better place. And to go back to what we were talking about a little bit before, the voice that young Americans have right now with the advancements in social media, you got to remember, 20, 30 years ago, the only time anybody could do anything political and communicate with the masses, if they had some sort of authoritarian position to where they could get a television camera in their face and get 30 seconds on television at night. I mean, it's a totally different thing. So we're in the middle of a huge transformation in how politics is run, and social media is driving a lot of it.